Hey, I'm Chris Ralph, the professional prospector, and I wanted to talk to you today about something that I got comment that I got. I always tell people, leave comments, ask questions, because I do respond. Well, anyway, I got a guy who commented the other day. He said, because I do a lot of videos about finding gold, and he said, there's no gold in Ohio, so I'll just have to buy some gold if I want some gold. Well, I don't know that that's true. We're going to talk about that today because there's a guy with a video out that prospects in the Midwest area and says, you can find gold every time you go out. So which is it? No gold in Ohio or the Midwest? Or you can find gold every time you go out? It's got to be one or the other. Well, it turns out that the guy who said you can find gold every time you go out is actually the one that's closer to being true. There's actually gold spread all throughout the Midwest. And we're going to talk about Midwestern gold today because it's true. There's a little bit, not huge amounts, but a little bit of gold spread all across the Midwestern states. And we're going to actually get into individual states even today. So come with me today and we're going to take a look at Midwestern gold. So the Midwest isn't super famous for all the gold that the gold mines and deposits and everything that are there. So how did the gold get there? That's a good question. It turns out that the gold that's widespread across the Midwest and can be found in streams far and wide across many states is there because it was brought down by glaciers from Canada. We're going to show how huge areas were covered with ice in the last big ice age, and I want you to see how much of the area was really glaciers, and those glaciers brought gold down from huge distances. Now, reconcentration of gold from glaciers is a real thing. It really is. I've actually gotten some great gold in California from areas that were glaciated. These are small areas, but they were carved through by glaciers, and then later streams cutting through there and eroding down all that glacier material left some really nice gold. And in Alaska, it's a big deal too. There's areas that were, of course, being so far north, huge areas that were glaciated, and then when later streams cut through there, it's a winnowing process where the lighter materials are pushed away by the stream and leave behind the heavier stuff like gold and can create some really great placers. And this is exactly what's happened through huge areas of the Midwest. Now, the glacial moraine itself is actually very low in grade. I mean, literally, the glaciers just scooped up everything, the good, the bad. It's not just the vein material, it's everything gets pushed out of the way by the glacier. And so it's super, the gravel that the glaciers produce are super low in grade. And, you could process big volumes of glacier gravel and you might only get a tiny speck or two of gold. They're just super low in grade. But it's these streams that cut through and erode through the area, wash through the area, and winnow away the light materials and leave behind heavy minerals and other heavy stuff like gold, but hey, also diamonds. There have been quite a few diamonds found in the Midwest over the years, and I actually did a video about diamonds in the US and how they came from the glaciers, just like the gold that we're talking about today. And I'll put a link to that video in the description if you're interested in diamonds. So during past ice ages, like I say, huge areas of Canada extending all the way down into the United States were just covered with sheets of ice. And these ice, they moved in a general southward direction and they just scraped up everything that was in their way and pushed it down into mostly the upper tier of the Midwest, but some of that glacier area extends well down into some of the mid-tier states as well. Now, at various times, there's actually been some minor gold rushes in the Midwest states. People would find a spot that was pretty good, a small concentration, And the word would get out, hey, Joe Blow found some really great gold. And everybody would rush there. That's how gold rushes work, right? But what would normally happen is it would be found that the area around there had some gold, but the amount of gold-bearing gravel that was reasonably rich was not very big, and the guy had just happened onto a pocket or something like that, but the word got out, and after people got there and tried it and tried their hand and found they were just getting a little bit of gold and they weren't getting rich, most people went back to the whatever business they were doing, and the gold rushes were very short-lived, as opposed to a lot of the ones in the West where there really were huge amounts on these new discoveries, and there really were people making large amounts of money, and commercial mines being founded and set up, and bigger scale operations that made a good profit. In the Midwest, there really are no record of larger scale commercial gold operations that were successful over the longer haul. Even so, the Midwest still has widespread gold over a lot of places, and individual prospectors still go out and find some nice gold. I mean, it's not like the people that are working today can go out and find gold. They find decent amounts, and there's a lot of clubs through the area and groups of people that get together to go mine gold. And so, there still is some decent finds, and there's prospects for finding some good stuff. It's just not, it's not going to be a commercial operation. Now, the key to locating Midwest gold is finding those spots that are rich, where the natural process of the stream has come through and concentrated the heavy minerals in the glacier gravels and created spots where there's some decent gold in the streams. These kinds of places include like the inside bends of rivers, behind big boulders, and places where the streams flow over actual hard bedrock, and there may be crevices or something in the bedrock that you might be able to work and get some decent gold out of. They also include basically gravel bars. A lot of times the gravel bars will have some decent gold, especially on the surface. It usually isn't that the gravel bars have gold deep down, but it's like I say, that washing away or winnowing process where the stream basically has flowed over a gravel bar, washed away the lighter stuff, and left behind the material that's better in grade. So when you're looking at the gravel bars, usually it's only the top inch or two that has decent values. Now, most of the Midwest gold that's found is pretty small in size. You're not seeing big ounce nuggets coming out of Midwest gold deposits. Basically, it's the kind of gold that Western prospectors would call flood gold. It's stuff that moves around when the stream is actually flowing. If you get a big flood or big flow of water through someplace, it'll push around and the gravel will move the gravel, and whatever gold will be there will have a chance to redistribute itself and reaccumulate in those places where the river naturally concentrates heavy minerals. Sometimes some bigger pieces are found in the Midwest placer deposits. Usually bigger pieces are up to around the size of a grain of wheat. Occasionally there are pieces larger found. I won't say that there are never pieces bigger than that. But usually for most prospectors, what you're going to expect, your biggest pieces are going to be, size of a grain of rice or grain of wheat, that kind of thing is the normal maximum size, with occasional exceptions. And sometimes they do find pieces of gold-bearing quartz that have been brought down by the glaciers as well. The fine size of the gold makes it harder to recover. You can run it through your sluice box, and if your sluice box isn't set up right, you may lose a lot of the gold because it's so small in size. It just makes it harder to recover. It's not that it can't be recovered. It just is that if you do it wrong, you have a better chance of losing some of that really fine stuff. So now that we've talked about the hows and whys and the generalities of Midwest gold and glacier gold, we're going to talk about the individual states. Let's take a look at individual states and some of the places where gold has been found in these states before, and we'll think about that and take a look at a number of them. So let's zoom in and take a look at some of the individual states. We'll start with the state of Illinois.
Gold was found in Hardin County back in 1868, and in 1870 it was found in thin gravel beds, but only small amounts of gold were found. Generally speaking, gold is very widespread across Illinois, and mostly the particles are small and found in streams that cut through various drift gravels. Small amounts of gold have been found in Macon County, where the Sangamon River and its tributaries are found, and in Fulton County has also produced some small amounts of gold from the Illinois and Spoon Rivers. In Ford County, the Vermilion River has produced some small amounts of gold in the past, and it's been known that the Embarrass River in Jasper County is also a producer of glacial drift placer gold. Another Illinois gold location is the Wabash River and its tributaries in Wabash County. Again, like most of the Midwestern states, there is small amounts of gold that are widespread across the state. Now let's look at Indiana. Here gold also occurs in glacial drift gravels, and small particles of gold and sometimes very small nuggets are found in creeks and rivers where they become concentrated. Gold has been found in Brown, Franklin, Jennings, Morgan, Northington, and Warren counties. It was reported once that $2,900 worth of gold was taken from Bean Blossom Creek. Gold was also found in the bed of the Muscatatuck River. According to the reports of the Geological Survey of Indiana, $70 worth of gold was collected once at a branch of Pine Creek, probably in 1873 or 74. Gold was also reported to occur in nearly paying quantities at Wadena while on Brush Creek. It was reported that in one case an experienced miner was reliably reported to have realized $1 a day for some months in extracting the dust with a small rocker with a weak water supply. Now, when that was reported, $1 a day, that's a pennyweight a day, because at that time gold was worth about $1 a pennyweight. Wherever gold is found in Indiana, it's always associated with the glacial drift gravels. The best places to find gold are always in the sands and gravels of the smaller streams and tributaries which skirt the southern border of the drift and the area of the terminal moraine. Gold was discovered in Morgan County as early as 1837. In general, the gold occurs as very fine grains and scales. The loss in processing the gravel can be very great. Larger scale operations don't work as well simply because they're pushing through larger amounts of gravel, and because the gold is so small and fine, it tends to wash the gravel right on out of the sluice box. The glacial gravel itself is extremely low grade and it cannot be worked directly because of the incredibly low grade. It's only when the water flowing through streams that cut through the glacial gravels are able to wash away the lighter material and concentrate the heavier material that you get interesting quantities of gold being deposited in some of the smaller streams and creeks. Gold was reported in 1873 at Mooresville on a small creek. The sands and gravels were claimed to have yielded from 25 to 200 colors to a pan. $70 were reported to have been collected at the Gold Branch of Pine Creek in 1873. Let's take a look at Iowa. Again, the gold in Iowa is gold that has come down from the glacial gravels from where they were originally scraped off the bedrock in Canada. The gold occurs only in small quantities, but there is a considerable area where the local conditions of deposition have occurred so that the gold, even though in small quantities, is very widespread. In 1853, the first gold discovery in Iowa was made along the Iowa River northwest of Marshalltown in Hardin County. Miners descended upon the area but quickly found that the gravels really didn't pay well for them to work, so the area was abandoned almost as fast. There is still gold to be found, however. In Fayetteville County, on Otter Creek, the Geological Survey in 1904 stated that a man could produce from $1 to $1.50 worth of gold. Today, that number is translated into today's dollars would be something like $50 to $75 worth of gold. However, that's probably a little bit on the optimistic side. Most believe that these reports were overly optimistic, but it does prove that there's gold to be found in the Otter Creek area. The Volga River and its tributaries have also produced some fine gold. In Lyon County, there was a short-lived gold mine that operated along the Big Sioux River. Flour gold can be found in Jasper County on the South Skunk River. Gold can also be found in the Turkey River, which covers several counties in northeastern Iowa. There are plenty of prospectors in Iowa that search the sandy bars of the Iowa River after the river levels have dropped, and they're able to successfully recover flour gold in places where the gold tends to accumulate due to the bends in the river or other features of the stream that will allow the gold to concentrate. The gold is almost always very fine textured, but it isn't always deep in the gravels. Sometimes it will just be a surface concentration in the top inch or two of material caused by the flowing river washing away the lighter material and leaving concentrations of heavier material, which includes fine gold. Let's take a look at Kansas. Gold was found in western Kansas in 1849 by a party of Georgians bound for California. However, the mountains of Colorado have always proven a more alluring source of gold than the plains of Kansas, and therefore in the early days there was little prospecting done within the state. Aside from finding gold in glacial drifts and washes that come out of the Rocky Mountains to the west, there is one authentic occurrence of gold and silver in situ, in the bedrock, that has been reported. Both gold and silver have been found in small quantities in the shales of the Benton group of the Cretaceous in the western central portion of the state, especially in Grove, Trego, and Ellis counties. Let's talk about Minnesota. Placer gold has been found in various localities in the state, all associated with glacial drift gravels, and finds have been made from Fillmore County at Spring Valley and Jordan, in Olmsted County near the Zumbro River, and extending from Rochester to Wabasha County line, and in Scott, Kenholy, Itasca, and St. Louis counties. Of these localities, the Olmsted area is probably the first and best, and Itasca and St. Louis are next in importance. However, like most of the glacial drift placer areas in the Midwest, none of them have yielded gold in larger commercial quantities. Let's take a look at Mississippi. Some very small amounts of gold have been reported, and the source is likely to be glacial drift gravels distributed along the course of the Mississippi River. Let's take a look at Missouri. According to Waldemar Lindgren, the lead ores of the southeastern part of the state contain 1 to 10 ounces of silver and probably also contain very minor traces of gold. This is not gold that could be panned or recovered by normal techniques, but you'd have to do it as a part of the smelting of the lead zinc ores. Some placer gold has been found in Missouri from the glacial drifts in several counties of the state, but again in small quantities and small particles of gold. According to sources, glacial drift gravel covers a large area extending from the Iowa state line into Macon County. It's exposed along the Great Chariton River. It was found at Kirksville in Adair County, and the gold occurs in fine particles in the drift, which is composed of 3 layers of gravel, all of which pan some colors. Other locations in Missouri that have been reported to produce gold include Lynn, Putnam, Sullivan, and Mercer counties, again in very small grains from the glacial gravels. Next, let's look at Nebraska. Gold has been found from time to time in the glacial drift in the southeastern part of the state, and the drift wash that comes out from the Rocky Mountains. An occasional quartz pebble is found that shows traces of gold. The centers for past excitements over gold finds were Seward, Stanton, and Franklin counties. Gold has actually been obtained from gravels at Milford and Crete, and it's been claimed that the high terraces of the Platte, especially at Scotts Bluff, also contain some gold. Next, let's look at Ohio. Gold is found in this state, as it is in most of the other states of the Mississippi Valley, at various locations in the glacial drift. The gold is found in boulder and clay and gravels, and will concentrate at the upstream of gravel bars at the inside bends of turns or behind large boulders. Some of the best known and most productive localities in the state of Ohio have been Stone Lick Creek and Brushy Fork, north of Owensville, in Clermont County, and north of Belleville in Richland County. The gold found in the Clermont County occurrence is of a nature of glacial drift values, and authorities have said that this formation should be called Glacial Drift Goldfield rather than Clermont Goldfield. In 1868, nearly an ounce of gold was taken from Bowling Green Township, 1 mile north of Brownsville, from glacial drift gravels. The largest pieces were the size of grains of wheat. In Licking County, Professor Andrews reported that the quantity of gold was small, but in his experience, nearly every panful showed at least some color. There is a range of terraces about 50 feet above the bed of the Licking River which carry gold. They are cut through by small streams from the south, and in narrow ravines the gold is obtained from the sands and the clay. Old miners claim to see a marked resemblance of the channels and gravels to those of California, the floor of the gravel beds having been rough and for the most part covered with considerable depth of gravel. Next, let's look at Oklahoma. The region in which gold is reported to have found includes the Wichita Mountains, located within Caddo, Comanche, Kiowa, and Greer counties of Oklahoma. This area was formerly occupied by a section known as the Kiowa Comanche Reservation, which was opened for settlement in 1901. Let's take a look next at Wisconsin. In 1902, gold was found in glacial drift gravels at St. Croix Falls at the head of the St. Croix River. Very little gold was obtained, but gold has been found here from time to time. The gold is found in the glacial drift at a number of points. The bedrock of this basin is the Potsdam Shale and is of a sandy character. The riverbed of this river is now trap or basalt, upon which the concentration of the gold in gravel bars has taken place. During the periods of low water, considerable gold has been obtained from cracks in the basalt rock. The gold occurs mainly as small flakes and scales, but can quite readily be saved by ordinary panning and sluicing.
So to answer the guy who wrote me to say that there's no gold in Ohio, I got to tell you, you're wrong. There's actually a lot of gold spread in small amounts throughout the Midwest. And we've taken a look at the hows and whys and some of the states that are involved and do have gold in them. Now you know about that. In the Midwest, access is an issue. There's not nearly as much public, in fact, most of the Midwest states, there's hardly any public land, parks, and a few other things. And what I suggest is, if you're interested in gold and you're in the Midwest, join one of the local clubs. There are quite a number of them, and many of them have arranged some sort of access that they've got, either with some sort of landowner or property owner, or at least they know of parks and other areas around where the individual prospector can come in and have a chance to find some gold. Now, even when you have access to an area with decent gold, the whole thing of Midwest prospecting is being able to see and recognize those places where the gold will naturally accumulate. And recognizing those places where the gold accumulates is a skill that, new prospectors have to learn. And in order to help people learn about how gold accumulates and how you can find more gold and how you can be a successful prospector, I wrote a book. It's called Fistful of Gold. I'm going to tell you a little bit more about it right now. So let me tell you a little bit more about my book. It's called Fistful of Gold, and I wrote it because I want you to be able to go out and find for yourself Fistful of Gold. And you can see that it's an encyclopedia with all kinds of information, pictures, and that sort of thing. It's not in color, but color would have cost me a lot more to have printed, and so the book would have cost a lot more. It's for sale on Amazon, and you can pick it up. I'll put a link in the description below. I also serve as the editor for a prospecting magazine. It's ICMJ's Prospecting and Mining Journal. And honestly, you should check that out. We got stories and information, legal stuff, everything you know to increase your skills as a prospector. I write articles in this every month, and a lot of other very experienced prospectors contribute to the magazine as well. So check the magazine out. Also, I have a website, and the website is at NevadaOutbackGems.com. I'll put a link for it in the description below, but there's gobs of information there that you will find useful in your prospecting efforts. Finally, I want to say that I really appreciate your comments and thoughts and even positive criticism. Don't come on there and just toss out insults, because I'll just delete your comments. But if you've got helpful things to say and questions to ask, do write and put those in the comments, because I answer my comments to people, and you'll hear from me in responding to you. So if you've enjoyed this video and you like what you see and you're interested in finding out more, well then sign up, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so they'll let you know when I post new videos. And like it and share it if again you see stuff that you really are excited about. And I'll be coming out with lots more new videos, and so we'll see you again real soon.